Today, with a range of emotions, I'm sharing with you some information about me and my career with CTV News.
After 35 years at CTV and more than 10 years as their national news anchor, why was Lisa LaFlamme dropped from her job with no warning? Lisa says the company told her it was a business decision, but was it actually about money for CTV? Or was it about ageism and sexism, as some online are speculating? Or was it something worse, potentially something personal, like retaliation from management?
While it is crushing to be leaving CTV National News in a manner that is not my choice.
Hey, it's Gonez, and before we go any further, I need you to do a few things for me, like subscribing to this channel, tap that notification bell, make sure to like and share this video, and don't forget to follow us across all of our social media. The details are in the description below. Canadians are still in shock after one of the country's most notable and respected national news anchors was dropped from the anchor desk and dismissed from the network at only 58 years old. The news was shared by Lisa herself, not to viewers from her traditional anchor desk, but in an at-home video posted to Twitter.
I was also asked to keep this confidential from my colleagues and the public until the specifics of my exit could be resolved.
Already, the video has garnered millions of views, as well as plenty of questions into how and why this happened. I do want to be transparent with all of you. Many of you know I used to work at the same network and also under the management that decided to let Lisa go. So I do have inside knowledge of how things operate and what this potentially really means. I've also met and worked with Lisa LaFlamme a few times. Here's what I know from my experience. Lisa was known as the gold standard in the industry. Her reputation was solid, and she was known to defend her newsroom fiercely and even stand up to management for any decision she believed would harm the quality and impartiality of the news and her show. So let's start off by talking about the inside politics. What many people don't know is that CTV has gone through a major management shakeup recently, especially within the news team. For the past 12 years, CTV News was actually headed by a woman named Wendy Freeman, and she was known to be extremely supportive of Lisa's editorial judgment and authority as chief anchor. However, in December of 2021, Wendy announced that she was stepping down from her role and leaving the company. Her replacement would ultimately be a man named Michael Melling, who started the role in January of this year. He was promoted after overseeing both CP24 and CTV Toronto, two newsrooms that have seen a shockingly high amount of turnover of big name talent. The difference now is that he had control of the entire news division, including the precious national newsroom. So what does it mean to be a national news anchor in Canada? There are only 3 national news shows in Canada. CBC's The National, anchored by Adrian Arsenault since 2017. There's also Global National, anchored by Donna Friesen since 2010. And then there was what was known as CTV National News, anchored by Lisa LaFlamme since 2011. These are positions that almost any journalist would dream of having, but are also positions that rarely become vacant. For example, before the current crop of national news anchors were named to their positions, their predecessors remained at the desk for decades. We all know the iconic Peter Mansbridge. He anchored CBC National News from 1988 all the way to 2017. That's 29 years. In fact, he chose to retire at 66 years old. Here's how he got to leave the job.
That's the National for this Friday night. For CBC News, I'm Peter Mansbridge. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching all these years. It's been quite the ride for me, but always a privilege to be a part of bringing the national story home to you from wherever that story may be.
Then there's the legendary Lloyd Robertson, who anchored CTV National News from 1983 until 2011. That's 35 years. He decided to retire at 77 years old, and here was his send-off.
For me, it's been a rare privilege to have been able to serve in this position for so long. It's been a front row seat to history.
Now, the reason these folks stay for so long and are given such a gracious exit is because they are the face of the brand. Networks like CTV invest a huge chunk of money to market these anchors as the trusted figures of society. They host the biggest stories when news happens, from elections to wars to national tragedies and celebrations. The goal is to make the relationship between the anchor and the audience so tight that they won't trust or watch anyone else. And because of this, national anchors usually draw in the highest pay in the entire network. For CTV in particular, this formula was a win-win situation. Lisa LaFlamme not only had the trust of the audience, but had the numbers to back it up. CTV National News with Lisa LaFlamme has been the #1 and dominant national newscast while she's been at the helm. So why did CTV and her boss, Michael Melling, pull the plug on Lisa so abruptly? And why was it done in a way where she couldn't say a proper farewell and left to do it on a homemade video uploaded to Twitter? Let's examine, where did things go wrong? Well, according to a Bell Media press release, they said changing viewer habits pushed them to make the business decision to move its acclaimed news show and the role of their chief news anchor in a different direction. Now, many people online speculated that this was a cost-cutting move to save money. But the reality is, lower viewership has been affecting all of television. But as the #1 newscast still dominating its competition, why not allow Lisa to pass the baton properly to her replacement and avoid offending the audience during this transition period? However, online, more and more speculation continued, with many people calling Lisa's dismissal a prime example of ageism and sexism. As Lisa announced in her video, she is only 58 years old and thought she would have so many more years to tell so many more stories, just like her predecessors.
At 58, I still thought I'd have a lot more time to tell more of the stories that impact our daily lives. Instead, I leave CTV humbled by the people who put their faith in me to tell their story. I guess this is my sign-off from CTV, so I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you, to my incredible colleagues for their unwavering support, my dear friends, and my loving family.
But while many people are still pointing at that criticism, interestingly enough, CTV National News still has veteran anchor Sandy Ronaldo on their roster, anchoring the weekend edition of the national newscast. Now, part of all of the speculation comes down to just how clumsy this announcement was. On the same day Lisa dropped the news of her departure, Bell Media announced Omar Sachedina as the new anchor of CTV National News. The clumsy announcement led to a flood of negativity and anger directed at Omar, as viewers were still trying to process the shock of the news. Now, for a company who decided back on June 29th, as Lisa revealed, that they wouldn't be renewing her contract, how could they not figure out a proper announcement of her departure? You know, inside CTV, employees had no idea what was happening. According to sources inside the network, and after verifying emails, the network actually announced Lisa's departure in a company-wide email on Monday, August 15th. Just 13 minutes later, at 2:30 p.m., another company-wide email was sent out about Omar's promotion. Employees inside the news division, I'm told, were left shocked and confused as to why this was happening, but more importantly, why was this happening to the face of the network in such a manner? And this really is the question. Because for many Canadians, the axe to Lisa LaFlamme's career felt vile and callous. According to Canadaland, sources say Lisa was axed for defending her newsroom and standing up to Melling's decision. The source also says Melling has consistently demonstrated a lack of respect for women in senior roles in the newsroom, and that he fired LaFlamme in order to seize control of CTV News and to send a message. Lisa was the most powerful woman, the source goes on to say, at CTV News, and he managed to get rid of her. When people dare to speak out, they no longer work for the company. Now, the big question is, if this did in fact happen to Lisa LaFlamme, then who else has it happened to? Hey BG Squad, thanks so much for checking out our channel. And listen to this, we have more great content for you, like this video right here and this video right here. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell.